welcome to the American Songbook Association's Sunday Session Series. This series is an ongoing fundraiser for our expanding education programs. The ASA reaches thousands of students across the country teaching jazz, musical theater, and the Great American Songbook in an effort to preserve and promote those timeless American musical legacies. This programming also benefits Cabaret Scenes, the official magazine of the American Songbook Association, devoted to covering live music in the United States and Europe. We hope you enjoy today's episode of Sunday Sessions and that you'll consider a donation to the American Songbook Association. Every dollar helps us achieve our mission to keep this wonderful music playing. $65 gets you a one-year membership to the ASA and a year's subscription to Cabaret Scenes magazine, as just one benefit of membership. See the banner at the bottom of your screen for details or go to www.americansongbookassociation.org for more information. And now the ASA and Cabaret Scenes are pleased to introduce your host, Carolyn Montgomery.
Who has a very slow computer this afternoon? Welcome to this 16th episode of Sunday Sessions. I am Carolyn Montgomery, and I'm thrilled to introduce my fellow board member and friend and fellow singer, Craig Pomranz. Hi, Craig.
Happy afternoon.
Hi, I know. It's
happy Passover, happy Easter.
Happy everything.
Happy
exactly. Everything. It's so great to be here. And what's really exciting is that we've been doing these broadcasts since June of 2020, when things were very, very much up in the air and we weren't seeing, we couldn't even begin to speculate on the future of live music.
And what's exciting about this episode is we are coming back live with music, and we have all these great clubs to talk to about it. So that's very exciting.
That's it. And now that vaccinations are beginning to happen and there are rumblings of clubs reopening, everybody is, again, it's a little bit of speculation and everybody's being very, very careful. But even the thought that we could get back into live music, get these beautiful and beloved clubs, all three of the clubs that we are featuring today are very well known for their incredible work, their incredible performers. Our first one is the Crazy Coqs in London. One of my absolute favorite places to play. And before we bring on the two fabulous guests that we have representing Crazy Coqs today, I want to play a little something to show you what it is they're doing there.
Isn't it bliss? Don't you approve? One who keeps tearing around, one who can't move.
Someone to bless me whenever I sneeze. Let there be cuckoos, a lark and a dove, but first of all, please, let there be love.
Let's roll the dice. Take my advice, it always pays to raise the roof.
He's really out of time and he's every drunk the time and he's a drug. He can't help it, he's a drug. It's not his fault, he's a drug.
A New York City kind of street, the hottest spot in town. Till John D. Rockefeller pulled it down.
Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I will not wait until the snow beneath me thaws. I will escape your Santa Claus.
And when was the last time that they heard you say, sweetie, or best friend, I love you, the one? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
It brings a tear to my eye.
I'm smiling.
Me too. I'm smiling too. I want to see every single performer there, and I want to introduce the lovely people who are honoring the American Songbook Association with their presence today. Miss Clemmy Haynes. Hello, my dear. And James Albrecht. Maybe if my computer. There he goes. Hello.
Hello. Thank you. And it's us that are honored. It's really a real privilege. Thank you for inviting us, and you do great work.
And it's so exciting to see all of those faces. I imagine they're all beloved performers at the club.
Yeah. I mean, all of those videos were in fact shot since COVID. So, and it has been the main joy of sort of being able to put on some shows in the past 12 months to actually see those performers and others in the Crazy Coqs sharing a space with an audience in such sort of bizarre and desperate circumstances. It's been a real thrill.
Well, tell me about that. How did you pull that off?
Obviously in March last year, we shut down like everywhere else. But we did have this window of opportunity from sort of late August through to December, with the exception of a 3-week another lockdown in November, where venues were able to be open. And we, I think it's fair to say, Clemmy will agree, made sure that we were pretty much the first to reopen and put on as many shows as was humanly possible in that time, because artists primarily, but also audiences, just really needed it. And so we had 2 shows a night from late August right through to the 15th of December. And
were they full? Were people coming? Because that's awfully heartening to think that people just jumped right back into it.
Yes. I mean, we were obviously at reduced capacity. At Crazy Coqs, as you will know, is not the Palladium. At best of times, we can fit 80 people in. Now, under the current circumstances, it's 42. Yeah. So a lot of shows did sell out. A lot of shows,
Yeah. Wow. That's. I mean,
and did you have dividers or you just had people sitting separate at tables?
Yeah, the seating plan was socially distanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no dividers.
It's so interesting here. So people get a view. Here we have right there an absolutely full room, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's when it is. That's when it's packed to capacity, which clearly. I know. It's a beautiful, beautiful room. There you go. It's so
Sarah Louise Young, La Poule Plombée. That's that character.
But I do think, people are doing a lot of speculating about, when we get the all clear in New York, for instance, whether people will be very, very careful, or what is happening in terms, what are they saying in London about the prospect of live music going forward?
We are officially allowed to reopen on May the 17th.
Okay.
at 50% capacity. And therefore we are officially opening on May the 17th at 50% capacity with 2 shows a night. May and June are already on sale. And Clemmy, you perhaps could give us an overview of how that's gone so far.
Yeah, we announced May and June about 2 weeks ago now. And that was, I mean, like you say, we don't know what to expect. If audiences are going to be keen to come back, if they're going to be a bit, cautious, a bit scared. But actually, despite being at half capacity and despite only announcing a month and a half of shows, because normally we announce about 4 months of shows in one go, it was one of our best ever on sales. Just goes. Sorry.
No, did you ever really doubt that? I mean, first of all, when it comes to community, the theater community, I just sort of don't have any doubt that the minute things open up, everyone will want to come back and hopefully masked or whatever the way they do it, but will want to forge ahead and come out and support people. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I that's the evidence, I have to say. Yeah. And did we doubt it? I don't know. I don't think we did really doubt it. I mean, we work for a company called Fane, and the other thing that Fane does is live spoken word events, and now online spoken word events with famous people and authors and what have you. And we've got some big tours on sale for Fane from September onwards. And again, they have literally flown off the shelf. So there is, people want to go out, start living their lives.
People are keen,
Yeah, they really are. And the truth is, virtual. Now, here's a question for you: What has been going on when live performance is absolutely impossible? Has the space been used for virtual anything?
Yeah, well, so most of those clips you just saw were with an audience, but we have had about 6 or 7 shows without an audience, just literally played in the room live, but without an audience. And 1 or 2, we've gone to town with a couple, including a show that's still streaming with Giles Terrera, the guy who won the Olivier Award for Hamilton, which is a new song cycle that he's written about living in Soho in the past year, and it's a beautiful piece actually. And to be honest, we've also used it pretty much as a studio for a lot of our Fane events. So a lot of our spoken word events have been filmed in there.
Yeah, I mean,
that makes perfect sense. Do you have to serve food now in Crazy Coqs? Where here in New York, if you can't be at a place that just serves drinks unless you have food as well.
In the last, when things reopened, I forget now. There's been so many. When things reopened, I think after the November lockdown, that was the rule. But because Crazy Coqs is effectively in Brasserie Adele, Corbyn and King decided to take the view that most people would probably be eating in Brasserie Adele, so therefore we can reopen.
Well, and they were finding really funny ways around it in New York. I mean, they were selling bags of chips and, just really ridiculous.
Exactly. What is a meal? What constitutes
exactly.
The Scotch egg became a meal in the UK.
Maybe an
Saturday night.
An olive and a martini.
Yes, exactly.
I would argue.
Saturday Night Live had a sketch about it and talked about passing around. They said there's only one hot dog left, so everybody pass it around and take a bite. And I thought,
exactly.
It's crazy. Wait, there was a question about the virtual. Oh, I was speaking to Jim Caruso of Birdland, who has that wonderful. And he said the virtual shows that they've done at Birdland have been pretty successful, as yours, I'm sure, have been too, because people are hungry to see performances. We all want to be entertained that way. But he said the thing doing them that was an absolutely dashing you against the rocks was the opening number. After that, everybody got used to it, but you come out and you do your big opening number and there is nothing. It's crickets. It's silent.
Exactly. It's table silence in the room. It's a skill to deal with that as a performer.
It really is. And the performers, Julie Halston and Billy Stritch, were saying, you know where people are going to laugh, and you have that feeling. But after the opening number, when there's nothing happening, it really it separates the boys from the men in that particular experience.
I mean, you can project and know that in their houses people will be cheering and laughing and clapping, but it's not the
That's
same.
right.
It's just not the same.
No, you have to have a really good imagination. And
I will tell you though that the few times virtually that I've done like open mics where I've actually, rather than singing solo, I've had the group of people join in, like harmony and choruses. The feeling you get from that has been rather extraordinary, and I love that. I sort of wish that more people would do on the open mics this a solo, but with as long as people, especially the familiar songs, that everyone.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Have you been, Clemmy and James, have you been given any kind of, I mean, we're assuming that people are going to get vaccinated and that this is going to get under control. That's what we're all going to, at least that's the assumption that I'm making here. And that, so for booking now, which you're both doing for the fall, what does that look like? Is it still half capacity, or are you, say, from a certain point in the autumn, going to start booking full capacity shows 2 a night?
You want to take that?
Well, the current guidelines are that we can obviously open from May 17th at half cap, and hopefully, fingers crossed, from June 21st onwards, we can go to full cap. But who knows? Ever changing guidelines. We're not really, going with that. We're booking artists from June 21st onwards, and we're saying, they're hoping that it's going to be full cap, but we're saying we really, really can't promise that. So we're going to put the shows on sale at half cap, and then when we can, we have a seating plan that allows us to add the remaining tables. But I mean, we're hopeful, but I don't.
You
just there's no way to know for certain.
Exactly.
And we are asking you to speculate.
Are you doing 2 shows? Are you opening up to 3 shows?
2 shows a night.
2 shows a night. Yeah. Sometimes 3.
You used to do 3, right? Like a late show and
well, no, we did 3 on Fridays and Saturdays only. But of course, there's no. I mean, aside from the capacity issue and the deep clean between audiences, there's also been the on-off curfew issue and what have you. So a 3rd show would be, under the current circumstances, optimistic.
What's the curfew issue? Because we don't have that here.
Well, there was a curfew until Christmas. I think there was a curfew of 10 o'clock. So that meant that we had to be done and dusted and out the building by 10. So in fact, we had a whole bunch of shows that were on sale for 7 and 9, and then we pushed it back to 6:30 and 8:30, which meant a lot of audiences had to sort of juggle around there. I mean, perhaps everyone's been.
Performers that don't wake up until 10. In
New York, the city that never sleeps, sure.
Yeah. So just to recap for our viewers, because I want to make sure that we have this correctly. So from May 17th on, you will be opening up with 2 shows a night at half capacity. And then hopefully we have every appendage crossed for you that the Crazy Coqs in the Brasserie Zadel in Piccadilly Circus in London, my favorite place in the world, is going to be opening with 2 shows a night at least, full capacity from June 21 on.
We hope.
I really hope that for you too. I'm going to be over there as soon as I can get over there.
We want to bring back invite back in all our American artists, because we of course have quite a few, including Craig.
Exactly.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We are wishing you every good thing. We are wishing good things for the whole UK in terms of getting this under control and having this be but a very, very odd memory. Clemmy Haynes and James Albrecht, thank you so much for visiting with us today and telling us how you're doing.
Well,
thank you both for having us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
I want to go back to London.
Tomorrow.
Crazy Coqs tomorrow. I know.
It's not only just such a wonderful club, but the people that work there are so lovely, and they just take really good care of you, and it's just a privilege, which doesn't always happen. So
that's right. It's a very exciting place to work. It's a really top-notch operation, and they always have beautiful entertainment there. So I really want to see these clubs recover and go on, particularly the really good ones. And speaking of our next guests, are from Club Cafe in Boston. Very, very busy spot, even during the pandemic. Oh, absolutely wonderful club that has been around for years and years and attracting wonderful audiences. And I'm going to play you a little clip from what's been going on at Club Cafe, and then I'm going to bring on Jim Mortgrage and John O'Neill. That's not the clip.
Okay.
There is always something there to remind me.
This can't be love because I feel so well. No sobs, no sorrows, no sighs.
I know what you came to do. I know what you came for. I know what you came to do. I know what you came for. Come on, hands in the air now. Hands in the air now. Hands in the air now. Hands in the air. Hey yo, these left the game wide open. This type of
let's get unconscious, honey. Today is the last day.
And Craig and I are so pleased to bring on the owner of Club Cafe, Jim Mortgrage. Oh, that's Kenneth Gartman. Jim Mortgrage, there we go. I'm having a little, hi, Jim.
Hi.
And his right-hand man, John O'Neill. Hi, John.
Hi, we moved so we wouldn't have any feedback. I'm in the back room of the bar.
Oh, looks like you moved to the right place.
We hope so anyway.
Oh, there you go. What I love about that clip
Jim is in our cabaret room, the Napoleon room.
Oh, that's so lovely. And it's been a while since I've been at Club Cafe. One of the things I love so much about your programming is how eclectic it is. You have jazz, you have dance parties, you have the Great American Songbook represented. You are a true cabaret room. And how long has Club Cafe been in operation?
So we opened in 1983, October of 1983. So we're hitting our 38th year this year.
Wow. That's pretty darn impressive, and I think it shows there's some success in there somewhere if you've been open since 1983. Tell us how you have been. How, since this all went down in March of 2020, how are you?
Well, I mean, it's been a very precarious time. A lot of learning and redeveloping and struggling to figure out how to go forward.
Yeah.
But ever since 1983, when we rolled out the great big old television into the middle of the room so that people could watch Dynasty Thursday night.
Of course.
Those big old console TVs, right? They would roll them out into the middle of the space and everybody would watch Dynasty. So we were very lucky that we've been doing video entertainment ever since that time. So we were able to adapt and work with some of our performers to get them the equipment that they needed in their homes so that they could continue to provide entertainment to our customers, whether it be RuPaul's Drag Race.
So the small room hasn't really been operating, but the large dance room has been operating all continually.
Well, the large dance, so we basically spread out our tables throughout the entire space. So it's all restaurant seating. So we've not been able to do any live entertainment whatsoever since March of 2020.
Yeah. And however, you could have the tables spaced apart. The Boston rules were you could be seated apart. And did the room fill to capacity to the largest extent it could?
It's starting to now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And what do you two know about the future? What is Boston in terms of this is speculation, so nothing's set in stone, but we're curious to know.
We have very little clarity so far as to where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because of state or city rules?
Outdoor cafes just opened, so that we've been able to increase that. What we tried to do a couple things during the pandemic to sort of remind our audiences that we were here. We did a virtual a virtual New Year's Eve show, which was viewed by everyone who came in, and then we had a pay-per-view for that in January, which really all of our fans just plugged right in because they're really anxious to come back. And
well, yeah, and they miss you. I mean, one of the reasons why we started these, they do. I mean, we started these interviews not just to remind people that clubs were there. People have not forgotten. They miss it terribly, and they miss the people that are booking and owning and running these clubs. They miss the faces, and it's incredible how many people tune in just to see you. You know,
we talk about community a lot, not just in cabaret but and in theater. But the reality is that we all develop a community when it comes around music, that we go back to the same thing over and over again. And so when you have that opportunity, you flood it. I mean, that's what I think, anyways.
Yeah. And quite frankly, it's unthinkable to a lot of people that you would survive a year with absolutely no income. You know, and so I think that people in New York have been incredibly sensitive to that. I mean, I walk by every restaurant that I see that's full now and go like this because, you know, how you hold on during times like this. Now, this particular program for the ASA supports our education program. And I know John was telling me that somehow Club Cafe has been involved in a youth or education-oriented program.
Well, actually, I'm involved independently of the club. Although we do a lot of outreach in many ways to the community, but in a way to just try to keep my life moving forward and feel like I have purpose through this time. I hooked up with Generations Inc. And I now do some literacy tutoring for youth in Greater Boston. And you know, I want to say not only the performers who are so missed, but the schools are in topsy-turvy. Kids are at home, kids are not at home. Everything's a whole new normal.
That's right.
And it's really important that those kids just reminded that they have a voice, that somebody is signing on. And while all you're doing is reading to me, I hear you.
Absolutely.
I hear you. And it's really one of the things that held me on, because the loss of this pandemic. We have performances, live performances, 6 or 7 nights a week, and all of those performers, and it is hundreds and hundreds of performers, are now out of business.
I know.
Many without benefits, many without anything, and
that's right.
And we missed every single one of them. And I just keep my fingers crossed that something's going to happen. I know I'm in rehearsal madly right now for when we're ready to go. I've got all sorts of new material coming, because when they come in, they're going to want to be hit. You know, they're going to be wowed. So in that end, that's what I'm doing, and exhorting our community, all of our performers who are lonely and are sad.
Right.
You know, we're just
it's been a rough time.
Yeah.
And Jim, what do you hear from the city? Do you have any idea when you can start doing live entertainment again, or have they not given you any?
They've given us no indication. They really don't like to show their hand. And unfortunately, we're one of the states where numbers are starting to go back up.
Yeah. So
right now the focus, I think, for the city is really getting outdoor dining up and running and getting people back in and, eating outdoors. And I think the live entertainment in smaller venues such as ours, it's probably going to be another 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Before we know anything about that.
Well, we've been through a year, so we can do 5 or 6 weeks. And I tell you, one of my, you know, when we could take our pick of any club and any live venue we wanted to go to at any time, we tended to go to fewer of them. And now I know when I'm in any city, the first thing I'm going to want to do, you know, is not taking a movie. You know, it's going to be to go when I'm in Boston to Club Cafe and visit you wonderful people.
Yeah, I was gonna write a book because every city I went to, I said, you take me to any city, I will find a piano bar somewhere.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's live music everywhere if you look for it. This is a well-known place, and I can't wait to see it. I think so much about the Napoleon Room. So,
well, when I started my career 30 some odd years ago, there were probably 30 or 40 clubs that I had worked in.
Yeah.
And now this is the only place that offers this live music, and which makes it just such an important part of the community, particularly for members my age.
Yep.
Because this is what we grew up with. And we want the live music. We want that connection. We want that laughter. We want that live moment.
And we want to introduce kids to it, which is what I'm desperate to do, because whenever people go to see cabaret, what do they say that aren't used to it? They say, oh, I need to do that again.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Why was that so amazing? And you say, well, it was amazing because it was live and it was intimate and you were seeing this person. So both of you are torchbearers for this incredible genre. You can be certain that cabaret scenes will cover when you are opening, that we're going to make a really big deal of it, and that I see you in a big way as survivors of a really tough time. Jim, hats off to you for being here.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations. And thank you so much for coming today. We will have you back, and it'll be with some wonderful news, I hope.
Bigger and better.
Yeah. John, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Carolyn. Nice to see you, Craig.
Nice to see
you too. Now I'm doing something. This is my, I have a new computer. And
Okay.
John, I think this is you. Goodbye. Oh, yes, I did it. Excellent. And Jim, I think, thank you very much. Woo, okay. Yeah. Perhaps I need to not be my own tech person. Our next guest is, you know, what's really funny is I realized that I had never met him, and yet I have 2 or 3 very, very close friends that just adore him, and I've heard wonderful, wonderful things about him. And so I had assumed that we had met, and then when I finally realized that we had not, he is he's from BJ Ryan's Magnolia Room. Beautiful, beautiful room in Norwalk, Connecticut. And before I bring Kenneth Gartman on, I'm going to play a little clip of one of the wonderful shows from that room.
Why does no one want to be alone? Because you're nobody till somebody loves you. Tell me I'm wrong. You're nobody till somebody cares. Can I sit on the piano? No, don't. You may be king, applause. You may possess, I'll hold the drink, all the world and its gold. But gold won't bring you happiness when you're growing old.
All right.
I'm so into that room, actually.
You know, I just love that too. I thought about sizzle reeling it, and I thought that was its own sizzle reel. And I'm so happy to bring on the wonderful Kenneth Gartman. Hi.
Hey, it's so good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. And I want to show off. These are beautiful, beautiful photos from the club, and it really is a glorious spot in and of itself. This is the outside of BJ Ryan's Magnolia Room, and this is the inside of the club. It's so lovely. And then I had to include this one too, because you've had so many illustrious folks. But there's the wonderful Sydney Meyer. There have been so many good performers at the Magnolia Room. What a beautiful job you've done there.
Oh, thank you. It's been lovely. I mean, we had just sort of we finished our 2-year anniversary, and we won an award for best live music spot, and like we're really going great, you know. And then this happened, and so it's been interesting. But you know, before it was so much fun, and I'm very hopeful that it will be able to happen. It was lovely listening to the other people and sort of, you know, when you're going through it on your own, like you forget that there are lots of other clubs that are going through it, and because you know intellectually, but you don't hear from them necessarily, and so it's great. And luckily, Sydney's been so good to me over the past several years from performing. You know, I made my debut at Don't Tell Mama, and then he was, you know, I got to hear the lovely history of cabaret from Sidney Meyer, you know, which is so delightful.
You got the talk from Sidney Meyer.
I love that's
what I love. What I love is that all of these rooms are so different, and that they all have their own personality. And I know also people bring a personality to it with their shows, but physically, and they all have their own personality. And I just think that's kind of astonishing that we want to get intimate with all these different variations around. I love that.
Yeah. So, and it's also appreciating so many different, I can go to a different show every night of the week and find something wonderful in each one and totally different. You know, there's not one style that I'm crazy about.
Because your club is it seems like a particularly smaller club.
Yeah, well, it's maximum capacity is 60 seats.
Oh, okay. So, that's good. That's a good size.
Yeah. So when it's packed, you know, for many shows, like the bar is full, every single seat is full, and it's a wonderful experience. I try to at least have, you know, when I started, I approached the owners of the restaurant about having a cabaret night and creating a cabaret room upstairs and making sure we did at least one show every weekend. And that was sort of my goal until we could sort of figure out how the community responds, you know?
Yeah.
And so they've responded very well. So I'm excited to get back in and try to get the ball rolling again toward it, you know?
So I know, as you've seen, everybody's been sort of speculating about what they're thinking is going to happen. I think Crazy Coqs had more a kind of a concrete plan in terms of dates, but also said that could change. You know, it's nice to know you're not going crazy when you're trying to speculate, but are you able to sort of figure where you're going this spring?
You know, I'm not really looking toward the spring right now. They have it as, they're considering opening where you can have a singer indoors right now. Like you could have an instrumentalist, but you could not, can't have singing. But now they're saying sort of, you can have singing, but the nearest person to the stage has to be at least 12 feet away and the nearest path for like staff to pass. And I'm like, well, that's just not physically possible in that room.
Yeah.
So, so that rules that out until the guidelines change a little bit more.
Right. And so probably not looking at the spring, looking more at the summer and fall.
Yeah. I mean, I'm optimistically looking towards September. I typically sort of I've taken the summers off the past 2 summers when I had done it, just because so many people traveling and just because it was still sort of gearing up toward going a little more full time, whatever that is. And, so I had taken summers off and then I kicked back up after Labor Day with every weekend and try to bring a headliner up from the city at least like once a month. And then we've got so many Broadway people and cabaret people in the area that, you know people here and love people here and they love to hear them perform. So it sort of works out nicely that way.
Yeah. So what have you been up to in the midst of all of this?
You know, it's been crazy. I mean, I've been supporting the restaurant as much as I can because, you know, if the restaurant didn't survive, then we wouldn't survive. I mean, and the owners have been so supportive, just in general, you know, they're so ready for us to come back and start doing this again. But, you know, we all have to follow the guidelines. So we're just figuring it out. But I've done lots of cabaret workshops, virtual things. I did Magnolia Room. Several people had recorded their shows. So we did a YouTube premiere of various shows that had taken place in the Magnolia Room that were free, and I encouraged people to make contributions, which since I'm talking about encouraging people to make contributions, contribute to American Songbook Association. I mean, it's just so important. Cabaret Scenes has been so supportive of me as an artist in the city, but also coming up here to review the room and reviewing some of the shows. I think when Sally Mays performed and a few other people, there were people that came up and to be a part of that experience. And somebody came up actually for the anniversary as well. And it's been so supportive, and it's even just the listings in the back of where the clubs are in what towns, so that you can go and support them when they do open up.
Thank you for that so much.
Without the contributions, and I mean, especially the last year, I mean, I don't know what I would be doing if people hadn't contributed so generously to the Magnolia Room, if they hadn't contributed to just me as a performer, not having work, not doing what I love to do.
Sure.
So we did a few of those YouTube premieres. I still have a few more that I might, once I know, like, we've got at least as definitive as one can be nowadays, a definitive date for opening, then I'll start teasing out a few more YouTube premieres, probably of the 3 or 4 shows that I have left that I can do. And then we'll see. You know, I'm at Unity Center of Norwalk, which is a little church next door where I do the music. And
a wonderful church, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got great space up here. So I've been using this to film different things instead of Magnolia Room, just because of the logistics. And you know, I've looked into streaming as possibilities, and I'm just still trying to suss it out, because bottom line is, it's got to provide a living. It's got to provide income for these performers, income for, you know, everybody's not doing it for free. And so it's always trying to sort of navigate how to make it work and be successful for everyone.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was trying very hard at the beginning of this streaming, these particular Sunday sessions broadcasts, was saying to people, you know, I know that you may be overwhelmed by the fact that there are a lot of things to choose from in terms of tuning in, but you should never be overwhelmed, because somebody said to me, oh, I feel bad. I don't want to just send $10.
Send
and
$10.
I smiled and said, now listen, here's the thing. If you budget, say, $50 a month that you can give away to different organizations, and 100 people did that, and 100 people gave an organization $10 each, they'd be very, very happy, you know? And people started to think about that. And I think a lot more, you know, they don't understand that if the 50 people watching give $10, it makes a big difference. You know, and so everybody's sort of spreading it around a little bit. And please let Cabaret Scenes and the ASA know when you're doing your YouTube specials, because I know it'll be great entertainers. And also when you're planning on reopening, because we will sing it to the high heavens and get it out to our readership.
Yeah, my fingers are crossed for a Saturday after Labor Day, and that's at least what I'm like psychologically aiming for.
All right. Excellent. Well, Kenneth, we are so happy to have you on. We have, as I said, every appendage crossed that you will be open the Saturday after Labor Day, and then many, many, many weekends after that. And I'm coming up there at some point.
I'm ready. All of these clubs will be listed on for us, and you'll be able to see them where you can go to in Connecticut, drive to Connecticut, drive wherever you have to go.
That's right. Our wonderful friend Jane is putting it all in the magazine and making it available for our viewers and readers. So thank you so much, Kenneth. Take good care of yourself, and thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much.
Take care, hon. Bye.
Oh my God. It's just nice to hear and nice to see, and I mean, we're pretty hopeful people anyway, but you know, it's just great to see these people out there just like know that it's going to happen. So
and they're all such good people with such a belief in good music and such a desire to keep it going. James Albrecht and Clemmy Haynes from Crazy Coqs, Jim Mortgrage and John O'Neill from Club Cafe in Boston, and Kenneth Gartman from BJ Ryan's Magnolia Room in Norwalk, Connecticut. We wish all clubs the very best, all clubs that present live music.
Before we go, we should probably mention the loss of a wonderful musician, a wonderful person, a great human being that, you know, we've known for a very long time, Rick Jensen. I don't know if you want to say more about it or not, but
well, it's very new, and it's one of those things. He was such a major contributor, such a powerhouse of talent, and such a really fun and tremendous person.
When I first moved to the city, we met and worked very briefly together, and then I just used to see him around. But then he became a big part of the St. Louis cabaret community, like a huge part, which is where I'm from. So then all of a sudden, he was sort of back in my world again, because everyone I knew had worked with him and was working with him. And he was a great teacher and a great musician. So
his music
really lives on. So that's the good.
Yeah, his songs and his recordings will be a big part of his legacy, and also a tremendous amount of love that he has left behind, which is the most important thing. And we will all miss him. We will all miss him terribly. So, and we hope that if you've enjoyed today, that you will consider giving to the ASA a donation of any amount. You can see the ticker going at the bottom of your screen. Do know that a $65 membership to the ASA not only gives you all sorts of fun perks and tickets to things, but also 6 issues of Cabaret Scenes as a benefit of membership. So we hope you will consider giving to the ASA for our education program. Craig, thank you so much for joining me today and bringing hope to the people. You're my favorite co-host. And thank you all very much for coming to this Sunday sessions. We will see you next time. Take care.